please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome to Pekin Community High School. We're here for a regular meeting of the Board of Education. We'll start with calling the meeting to order. And Mr. White, would you please take the roll?
Alessandrini. Here. Vera. Here. Oheimer.
Here.
Howard.
Here.
Huey. Here. Wrigley. Here. Hill.
Here. All members of the board are present, so we'll move on with approval of the minutes. Those minutes being the LMRC meeting of April 6th, the Student Achievement Committee meeting of November 16th, the regular board meeting of December 18th, the first closed session of the regular board meeting on December 18th, and the second closed session of that same meeting. Be looking for a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Vera, second by Mrs. Hoheimer. Comments or corrections to the minutes? Mr. White, would you call the roll?
Vera.
Aye.
Oheimer.
Aye.
Alessandrini.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Wrigley. Aye. Hill.
Aye, motion carries. Minutes are approved. Moving on to communication, public comments, and participation, starting with Board of Laws. Mr. Howard, we'll start down with you tonight.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to wish good luck to Paige Calvert, Joe Hoff, Jack Mansfield, Andy Murfin, and Ben Murfin. According to Mrs. McCann, they are going to the Illinois Music Educators Association All-State Music Conference this weekend. I know they'll represent themselves and our school very well.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Mr. Huey?
I apologize for not knowing specific names, but want to congratulate everyone who had a hand in putting on the very successful career fair last week. I was there. The attendance was great, both on the companies and their employers' side and on the parents and students' side. And I understand that not only did we have Pekin High School students and parents, but we had a few students and parents who were attending a speech contest at Pekin High School. So we're a little bit more far-reaching on that.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wrigley?
Nothing for me this evening.
All right. Mrs. Hoheimer? Mr. Alessandrini?
I just want to send a thank you to everyone that worked during the Pekin Insurance Holiday Tournament. It was another successful tournament, and the committee does a lot of the behind-the-scenes work, but during the tournament, many of our staff members from the high school and from the community work tirelessly those 3-4 days, and just want to say thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Barrett?
I'd like to congratulate the wrestling squad for taking second place at the conference tournament this past weekend.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Barrett. And I would like to congratulate the Booster Club, the Sports Booster Club. This is something that this board's looked at a few times now in the last several months, has been the placement of signage and logos for sponsorships. That those were put up in the gym. They've been up now for a couple months, I believe, but they do look very, very nice, very crisp looking. So congratulations to them for getting that done, and thank you to all the businesses that are supporting the new Booster Club. We'll move on with the Student Council report, and that will be from Ms. Curtis.
Good evening. Coming back from the holiday break, we've begun planning this semester's activities. The first event will be Valentine's Spirit Week. We are planning dress-up days, items to sell at lunch, and a door decorating contest for advisors to compete in. The next event coming up is the annual Dragon Spotlight Talent Show. Auditions for the show will begin soon, and applications are available to all students now. We are also planning our Library Family Fun Day, where we will perform a Dr. Seuss skit for surrounding grade schools, and then at the Pekin Public Library that night. And because we aren't too far into the semester, that is all I have to share. Thank you for your time. I'll see you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 3.3 will be our first semester summary report. Mrs. Huber.
Good evening. We're very excited to share our information from first semester, just to kind of give you an idea of where we're at. So some of the updates we're going to take a look at tonight are added one, attendance. A lot of work has been done and is still being done and will continue to be done on increasing student daily attendance at Pekin High. Again, information on our guided learning labs, our interventions that are available in the math lab and writing lab, credit recovery, early college, which we're very excited about, discipline data, and the Dragon's Closet. So without further ado, I have to give a lot of credit. We have an attendance team that's been working very hard behind the scenes now for quite some time, headed by Mrs. Lisa Stoles, our RTI coordinator. So they have been taking a look and really trying to get to a point of what are we doing, what are we looking at with student data, and some of the things up here. This is the total data tally from first semester, which gives you kind of an idea of where our student attendance daily, as far as the totals. On the right-hand side, where PCHS response is at, you will see different things that we're doing. Elisa is doing a lot of these things. So the students on a monthly basis are getting letters of recognition, some drawings. They have goals and information she sends out as much as she can, whether it's by letters or in the student newsletter. And then we're still right now working on additional ways to utilize Skyward to get that information out to parents as well. Student support through, we know, advisory on a weekly basis, any informational meetings in the Mac and writing lab as needed. In that second tier category, the students missing 9 to 16 and a half days, those students are having some goal setting and progress monitoring with their advisory teachers on a weekly basis, which has helped those students to really open their eyes up to the accumulation. They know they're gone, but to really start seeing numbers of days that they're gone in a period of time, and that is over the semester, looking at what their goals they can set moving forward. And then the lower tier, where we still have students that are missing a lot of school, that we're using data collection, we're pulling out of advisory with Mrs. Stoles to progress monitor, as well as what they're doing right now is moving forward to try to find a way to get parents in. So we're hoping to have a parent meeting here in the next couple weeks to month to try to invite the parents in to give them more educational documents as far as how to get students to school and the importance of them attending school on a regular basis. So that is going to be upcoming. But what this does now, as a first semester, it really gives us a goal moving forward. So a lot of students come to school every single day, and a lot of students are here and get the intervention letters and earn the little treats that we have, and you'd be amazed at how far a candy cane or a little pack of fruit snacks will go with high school students. But it gives us something to work towards, a goal to work towards. Obviously looking at that lower tier where we still have 7.88% of our students first semester, so 138 students that are still missing way too much school, and the second tier. So behind the scenes, a lot of work is being done, and I do want to give a lot of credit to Mrs. Stoles, who is working with her team and the building level team to increase student attendance. All right, Mr. Schmidt.
All right, one of our interventions here that we've dedicated a lot of resources and time for our staff is the Guided Learning Lab. We implemented this last year with the expansion. It gave us a little more flexibility in the schedule with 7-period day. And this year we've really utilized a lot of the same people to work hard to identify the right students who need some help here at school and succeed. And so we wanted to make sure that first off we give you a little recap of what it looks like in the Guided Learning Lab. So it's one classroom, but there are 2 teachers. Right now we currently always have a math teacher and an English teacher in the classroom to help out. There's usually between 15 or 20 students per period. There's 2 goals. One goal is skill building, when we know that they're behind on benchmarks or skills, whether that's reading or English skills or whether that's mathematics. So one goal, and it's hard to do, it's not easy to accomplish, but the teachers have really formulated a plan within the room to build those skills, but also allow them time as well to succeed in classes. So we have students who are there to help build a gap that they have, a learning gap, an achievement gap, but then also be able to keep up with the regular classes they have. This is a credit that this is a class that they take during their schedule. It's not for credit for high school graduation, but it's really important when we identify some students who are struggling that need another intervention to help pass the rest of their classes. So the fall enrollment, we really looked to students, and Mrs. Stoles worked with our counselors and our teachers to identify students that would be good fits for the Guided Learning Lab. In fall 2017, here this previous semester, That's what we looked at. Students who lack credits towards graduation, but also more importantly, we knew really lack some of the skills they need. It wasn't because of effort or anything like that, but these are students who need some help. Some of the results, they were very impressive. Again, so we really looked at this, and from last fall to the spring, we increased the amount of classes that each student was able to pass. So even though there's 7 periods in the day, they're giving up one of those periods for this intervention, they were still able to pass 5 classes. And again, these are students who typically were not passing all that many classes to begin with. These are not students that may not seem like a really big achievement or a big goal, but now you can see here in the fall, that's actually been raised to 5.13 classes. So for the statistics people out there, that's a big deal when it comes to actually helping some of these students. So they pass between 5 and 6 classes on the average per student in the fall. So that's a really big achievement. Again, a healthy program we built last year, doing even better this year for the students we have. And I have to credit the teachers in the classroom for working hard with the interventions, having a really viable program, and then also Ms. Stoltz, the counselors and the classroom teachers for identifying the correct students to take advantage of this kind of intervention. Another intervention we want to speak about are the Mac and Writing Lab. They were offered, last year we were able to offer it all periods of the day. This year it's not all periods, but it is a lot of periods of the day that students have access to get passes from their teachers to go to a writing lab for help in English or a social studies class, or go in and get help in the Mac lab for math and science type curriculum. You can see the other periods, they're open. They're actually staffed by a math teacher, English teacher, each of those periods. And we also have National Honor Society students come in and try to help tutor and get some hours that way. So it's just a great effort by our students and by our teachers to make sure that we help students throughout the day. More impressively, it's actually these teachers who are supervising the Math lab or writing lab, they're also supervising credit recovery. So they have to be pretty dynamic individuals to do both at the same time. So we can actually have up to 20 students per class period in this intervention. Credit recovery identifies students who have actually taken a class already and they failed that class for one reason or another in a face-to-face classroom with a teacher. So what we do is we offer them this intervention to try a computer-based curriculum on Apex where they can work at their own pace, but also get teacher intervention or teacher feedback when necessary to help succeed. So we identify students who have failed a class before, they come in and they can actually work and achieve their goal to recover one of those credits they have lost previously. But then also, if they are committed and they get help from the teacher, then sometimes they can actually get 2 classes done within the same class period for a semester. So it's a great way for them to try to recover these credits, get back on track for graduation, and take advantage. Mr.
Do we offer credit recovery after school also, or do we cover everything during the day?
We still offer credit recovery after school. We had 2 sessions of after school credit recovery, but due to this being the second year for face-to-face credit recovery, we saw our numbers dwindle for that need. So the second semester, we actually looked at our numbers and we decided we're going to have 1 session of credit recovery after school here in the spring.
I like it being offered this way.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic resource and students really take advantage of it. And then if a student gets done with the class and they really worked hard and achieved their goal a little early, then maybe that they go and get placed into, like we said, another credit recovery class, or they can go to get a study hall, so then they can actually go and get help in the math lab or writing lab if need be, and it's a really good program. Some of the results, again, very positive. The results were already pretty positive in the spring. Students recovered a total in the spring of 2017 of 115 classes. So although we didn't offer it as many times during the day, students and teachers worked together, and again, the counselors worked to identify students that might be successful in this kind of curriculum. Now that we've had it for a year, we know a little bit more about it, and we've actually been able to recover 122 classes for the fall. So again, fewer hours available, but we still increased the number of credits recovered. So it's a really nice accomplishment for our whole staff and for the students who achieved it. We had a total of 142 students here in the fall. Again, another good expansion that we've utilized this year, and I just presented to the parents for those trying to register next year the other day, but it's the early college option here at Beacon High School. So we have actually had for the first time this year the option for students to actually leave our campus and go off during the school day to ICC to be able to achieve dual credit classes. And it's just like I said, so they can achieve dual credit at ICC and also achieve, I'm sorry, it's not dual credit, I apologize. It's early college, so they can actually go off and get the college credit, but not necessarily our credit here at school. We've had 5 students take advantage of that first semester, and they actually did very well. All 5 of them had positive attendance, they all did very well in their classes, and they all achieved their goal and got a college credit. So these are the 5 students. I wanted to make sure that you all might see their names, and then some of the classes that they were able to achieve early college credit for whenever they left our campus. This spring, we actually have 5 students again, but Mr. Feger is not one of the students. We have a different student trying it for the first time. So we're expecting good results. We actually have one of our students now trying an online class this spring, which means that they're able to come in and actually take 2 hours and stay in our Learning Commons, which is a great facility to use, and try a psychology class fully online at ICC. So she's trying it out, she's excited about it, and I think she's really going to succeed. All right, back to Mrs. Huebner.
Okay, just like we do at the end of each semester, we have recently going over some of our discipline data. So remember, we are in year 2 post with implementation of SB 100. And again, I cannot put enough positiveness when it comes to what our staff at the building level, teachers, everyone is doing. But when it comes to SB 100 directly, the deans, the counselors, RTI, special ed work countless hours to work with individual students to hopefully avoid suspension. And in some cases, we can't, and there is a suspension involved. But with our increase in number, with our decrease and our increase in positive results last year, for this year, looking at first semester, or 1 to 3 day suspensions this semester, gives you kind of an idea. I know that we saw a dramatic drop between 15-16 and 16-17, and if you see a couple of months on there, we did increase, and it was quite cute because the deans want to keep decreasing, which is the goal. However, there's going to be some evening out, and there's going to be some years that are tougher than others, so we continue to have those conversations to ensure that we're still on the right track as far as suspensions and what we're doing before those. So that's 1 to 3 day suspensions. When it comes to 4 to 10 day suspensions, again, when you're looking at last year compared to this year, we have seen a drop in a couple months and an increase in a couple months. And again, it really depends on what's happening and what's happening in the building, what happens at certain times of year depending on weather, just depending on our student body. So yes, the numbers and the deans want to continue to see that number, and we all would love to see it drop even further every single year, but it really is just going to depend. But we're staying pretty consistent. Total suspensions by month, looking from 16-17 to 17-18. So we do have an increase in suspensions this first semester. If you can, the comparisons by month though, you notice that the beginning of the year was a little bit rougher than the middle of the semester. So again, sometimes that's acclimation with new students and new or problems that are taking place. But again, as soon as those things are made clear and we see those, or even any signs whatsoever, that's when the interventions begin to try to avoid suspension at all possible. And you will see though the total suspension days. So the total suspension days when you're looking at 16-17 and 17-18, you are looking at a number that's very similar. Yes, it's a little bit of an increase, but when you look at the dramatic decrease we had in the year before when we implemented SB 100, to me it's still a very solid number as far as keeping it consistent. Again, we would love to see those go down. We take this data and then go back and look at the number of students that it involves. So the good news here, it involves less students, but there's more suspension days. So again, it's looking at those individual students, our repeat offenders, and what we can continue to do to help them make better decisions. And that doesn't happen with one person, that's the whole team putting that together. All right, and Sheila's up for some really great news.
Unfortunate, I get a happy one, for sure. So Joel and Amy have talked a lot about people coming together for some of these interventions and to make them work. And certainly the Dragon's Closet is a shining example of many people coming together to help meet the needs of our students. So as you've heard about the Dragon's Closet, I'm assuming you know that it's a room we have in the school that has clothing, food, toiletries, school supplies, a number of things for which students can get what they need should they find themselves without. And our goal is that students don't have to worry about, as much as we can, anything but learning. And as you also probably know, we have more and more students who are in need. And so thanks to a whole lot of people that I have listed up here, the Dragon's Closet has really expanded in the last year. So last year, you can see up there were 120 students who came through the Dragon's Closet. This year, first semester alone, the 120 was a whole year. First semester alone, we've had 458 different students. And so the people that have contributed to that, first of all, the social workers kind of start because they maintain the list. Now, we got the list from parents being able to say through online registration that yes, I think it would be beneficial if my student could come to regular visits to Dragon's Closet. Also, however, teachers, counselors, administration, anyone can refer a student who they might know is in special need. Now, the social workers also work with the counselors and sometimes meet the needs of individual students. Otherwise, the 458 students are coming on a pass every Tuesday, Thursday. The passes run, they come about once a month. This semester, we're gonna try and get them more like once every 3 weeks. But maybe there is a student who needs to come every Friday on a special trip to get food for the weekend. Between our counselors and our social workers, we have a couple kids who do that. So that's nice to be able to have a place where we can make that happen a lot easier than we could before. Certainly the center of this are the life skills classes and teachers. This whole idea started years ago with Jody Drury, and with the special ed kids out in the workshop, started a food pantry many years ago. This is really just an expansion of that. So it's part of the life skills curriculum that they maintain the inventory, and so they also help run our passes every Tuesday, Thursday. And they're an integral part of what happens. Also, another nice addition this year is to make it more systematic so we could reach more kids every Tuesday and Thursday during advisories. Our retired teachers in the area sign up to come in and volunteer. So a wonderful group of people who just continue to give to Pekin High School, which has really been a nice add to the whole school community. And then, of course, we couldn't do any of it without the community support. From the supply drive we have at the beginning of the year, and Rotary Kiwanis have a contest to see who can get the most money in supplies. This year, I believe it was Kiwanis. Last year, Rotary. So I think this next year will be the rubber match. So
Get it back.
Yep. And of course, people in this room I know have given quite a bit of money, time, materials, and again, everyone coming together to meet the needs of our students. So I'll turn it back to you.
That's just a small amount of a kind of an update for you at semester. I know there's many, many things we could share for many, many hours, but just to give you kind of a taste of the great things that truly are happening here at Pekin High each and every day. That the team that's working together is amazing. It's students, it's teachers, it's parents, and the building level with deans, counselors, special ed, RTI, like Joel talked about, GLL teachers, and MAC and credit recovery teachers. We couldn't do it without each and every one of our faculty and staff members in this high school. And looking forward, again, we're just excited to continue to evaluate what we do and determine what we can do to actually increase it for students as far as what we can do to continue to reach out to as many students as we can on a daily basis and evaluate our needs, their needs. So that's all we have.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions?
Mrs. Huber, do you have opportunity to share this kind of information beyond this room?
Actually, I just had, well, not all of this information, but I did just speak with Dr. Owens at the Rotary Club. We hosted the luncheon here at the high school and shared with them not the discipline component of it, but more of the early college and different opportunities that the students are having here at the high school and what's happening at the high school, basically. So not this exact presentation, but similar.
There are big chunks of this, I think, that would be invaluable with the public. Maybe you need to have a little segment in the state of the district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, I just want to thank the three of you for coming and presenting here. It's great to hear from you. I think once a semester, I think you've come and done presentations now, so it's great to hear from the three of you as to what's happening in the building, and then know that on just about every month we're hearing great things that are happening from Dr. Owens and the rest of the team. So, but thank you all for coming in tonight and presenting for us.
Thank you.
I I don't believe there's any communication or public comments, so we're going to move on to the approval of claims.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
did you want to do the,
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, I did. Yeah, we're going to start the video. Sorry about that.
So one of the things that this is your teaser. So one of the things that we very much wanted to do this year was create a video. I can't talk and do this at the same time, so hold on. A promotional video for Pekin High. So we have employed Deverman Advertising, and they've been in and out of the building and doing the work. So the State of the District event will be the night that we debut the entire video. It's between 15 and 20 minutes of a promotional video all about the opportunities that we have here. So tonight what I thought I'd show you is a 1 to 2 minute clip of what you can expect next week, if it plays. Hold on. Watched it like 20 times. My husband has made total fun of me because all weekend we're in the car and I'm like, I'm watching it again. He's like, oh my God, stop watching that video. So super excited, but I got a chance to watch when I first they showed me the video, the whole video was 23 minutes last week. So the object right now is to pare it down a little bit. It's a little bit long, but the whole video will be ready for Monday night for everybody, for the community. So this is just a glimpse of it, but super, super excited. So definitely worth the time and the work that they put into it. So stay tuned.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move on with the approval of claims.
Mr. President, I move for the payment of monthly warrants in the amount of $3,254,642.72 per summary information found in the support material.
Second. Motion by Mr. Alessandrini, second by Mr. Wrigley. Questions or comments? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Alessandrini.
Aye.
Wrigley. Aye. Vera.
Aye.
Holheimer.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to section 5, new business, starting with a request for closed session regarding the employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. Be seeking a motion to move into closed session. Motion by Mrs. Hoheimer, second by Mr. Huey. Questions or comments? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Holheimer.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Alessandrini.
Aye.
Vera.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Wrigley. Aye. Hill.
Aye. Motion carries. We'll be back from closed session shortly. And we're back from closed session, starting with the consent agenda. Item 5.2 under employment, substitute certified Mickey Bopp and Jim Fairchild, substitute support Jerry Schlocky. Non-differential stipend, Nikki Wheeler. Chaperone volunteer, Jay Presley. Any items that a board member wishes to have removed from the consent agenda? Be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Wrigley, second by Mr. Huey. My right ear must be working better. Any comments or questions on the consent agenda?
Thank you to the 4 donations from Colleen Call, Andy and Trina Sparks, Ann Turner, and the YWCA of Pekin.
Thank you very much. Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Wrigley.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Allison Greeny.
Aye.
Vera.
Aye.
Hillheimer.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye, motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. Moving on to 5.3, midterm graduates for 2017-2018. Dr. Owens.
So on page 183, you see a list of 30 names of students who were midterm grads and walked out of here in December and moved on with their life. And so in front of you, we would recommend board approval to make the names of these midterm graduates for the 2017-18 school year a matter of record.
Motion by Mr. Alessandrini. Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Huey. Questions or comments on midterm graduates? Mr. White, would you call the roll?
Allison Greeny.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Vera.
Aye.
Hillheimer.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Wrigley.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye, motion carries. Continuing on to 5.4, the 2018 PCHS National Honor Society Scholarship Finalists. Dr. Owens.
So on the very next page, you see the list of the 7 local finalists that we have advanced on and will compete at the national level this spring for a National Honor Society scholarship for 2018. A few years ago, National Honor Society changed the process for doing this and actually opened it up, and you could basically submit, I think, close to all of your National Honor Society members. And our executive council expressed that they would like to still narrow it down to what they felt like were our highest and most qualified students. So these students are moving on. Morgan Hartley, Kristen Hunt, Madison Sinus, Taylor Scally, Hallie Stoller, Victoria Spiker, and Ashlyn Walker.
Heard the recommendation from the administration. Be looking for a motion to that effect. Motion by Mrs. Hillheimer.
Second.
Second by Mr. Vera. Questions or comments? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Hillheimer.
Aye.
Vera.
Aye.
Allison Greeny.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Wrigley.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye, motion carries. Congratulations to the scholarship finalists. Item 5.5, memorandum of understanding between Bradley University and Pekin Community High School. Dr. Owens.
Several years ago, Bradley, we've had a longstanding relationship, obviously, with Bradley in terms of students or teachers that go on to do graduate work there in many of their programs. And if you remember, several years ago, we were approached to be a partner when Bradley was, just like every school, was forced to redo their leadership programs in terms of the master's level for educational leadership. And part of that accreditation, of course, meant forming partnerships with schools. And so at the time, they approached Paula Davis about being one of the, Pekin High being one of the schools. We had a large number of people actually that had been going to Bradley for leadership, their leadership program, and that was something we continued. And as such, every once in a while, Melissa or I will get asked to sit in on interviews of potential placements into the leadership programs that they have. Bradley's in the process of starting a doctoral program, and so Dr. Risen came back around and approached us again and asked if Pekin High would be interested in being a partner with them as they form this doctorate program, meaning again, we could be called on to do interviews or help them do interviews for people potentially looking to get a doctorate in the field of education. Obviously, I think there's a benefit to having strong partnerships like this. We still do have people on our staff who go to Bradley for their graduate work. So this is before you, it's a 3-year agreement. Obviously, Pekin High is not the only school that they have approached, but it would be my recommendation and ask for board approval that we sign this memorandum of understanding with Bradley to extend from July 1st of this year through June 30th of 2021 to be a partner and help monitor their university doctoral program.
Heard the recommendation from the administration. Do I have a motion to that effect? Motion by Mrs. Hoheimer. Do I have a second to that motion? Second by Mr. Huey. Questions or comments? Mr. White, would you call the roll?
Hoheimer.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Alessandrini.
Aye.
Vera.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Wrigley.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 5.6, resolution for reemployment granting tenure. Mrs. Bloom.
We have one teacher who has reached the point of being recommended for tenure at the midpoint of the school year. And so if you refer to page 187, that teacher is Elizabeth Hill, and it would be our recommendation that District 303 Board of Education has determined that this teacher shall be reemployed for the remainder of the 2017-18 school year and then enter upon contractual continued service after that. Elizabeth Hill shall be reemployed as it says, and that would be effective as of today.
Heard the recommendation from the administration. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Hoheimer, second by Mr. Howard. Questions or comments? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Hoheimer.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Alessandrini. Vera.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Wrigley.
Aye.
Hill.
Present. Motion carries. Moving on to 5.7, resolution authorizing the district's participation in the Illinois School District's Liquid Asset Fund Plus program. Mrs. Schaefer.
You remember last month when we talked about the levy, I discussed that the excess funds that we had for the 2015 Health Life Safety Bond monies would have to be moved into a different product. According to the covenants in the bond, we can no longer have those funds after 3 years of the issue date in an account that's federally insured or that has a higher interest rate than the bond yield. And so in order to do that, we need to move those funds in the program, or the funds that we would like to move those to are the Illinois School District Liquid Asset Fund, which is a fund that's sponsored by IASBO and IASA, and many districts use this fund specifically for that purpose. And so there's a resolution in your materials that would need to be signed by the board secretary if this is approved tonight, and then that way we can open the fund and move that money before our deadline in February. So the recommendation would be board adoption of the resolution authorizing the district's participation in the Illinois School District Liquid Asset Fund Plus as presented.
Motion for approval.
Motion by Mr. Wrigley, second by Mrs. Hoheimer. Questions or comments?
What kind of an investment instrument is this?
Well, at this point, the monies that, when we move it, we'll have to discuss where they put it, but the PMA Securities works with this liquid asset fund, and they will work with us to put it then in a type of money market that's not federally insured, and that obviously doesn't earn, I think the yield rate is 2.35 is what we can't yield above, which obviously won't be an issue with today's rates, but after we approve this, I'll reach out to them tomorrow and discuss what that will look like. And then they actually do just we'll wire the money to our current checking account as we need to use the funds. So we won't be actually writing checks from this account, it'll just be a wire transfer when the funds are needed. And eventually, obviously, this money is gonna be a temporary situation because this will all get, with a lot of the projects that we've discussed, it's gonna get spent down this next summer.
And this, you said this fund is specifically set up, or not specifically set up, but utilized by several districts for this purpose?
Yeah.
Because now when you say it's not FDIC insured, is there any insurance on that money?
Well, it can't be backed federally, so technically not federally, no. So I mean, because that's the bond, the restriction to the bond money, because technically they want you to spend, it's a push to get the money spent down. So that's what, I mean, you're not supposed to hold on to that money. So within that 3-year time frame, we had to spend so much of that money down, and which we did. But then this leftover dollars is what's going to be. We have to obviously spend it down then sooner than later.
And what is that dollar amount or?
It's a little over $1 million.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. White, would you call the roll?
Wrigley.
Aye.
Hoheimer.
Aye.
Austin-Greeny.
Aye.
Vera.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to reports, starting with resignations, Mrs. Hoheimer.
Yes, we have one resignation this month from Severn Berg, teacher for the Social Studies Department and assistant coach for the baseball program, effective at the end of the 17-18 school year.
Thank you very much. And then we'll go to policy committee. Mr. Wrigley did not chair the policy committee today because of obligations at work, so Ms. Hoheimer did that. So Ms. Hoheimer, would you mind doing the report?
We went over 39. We looked at 39 different things. We have 14 policies that we will hold over for a first read, and we reviewed 25 others. And that's it.
All right, thank you very much. Operations and Maintenance Committee, Mr. Allison-Greeny.
We did not meet.
LMRC, Dr. Owens.
We met, I believe, last week. We discussed school calendar. Obviously, the thought is that at next month's meeting, we will bring a proposed tentative school calendar for your approval. We talked about workload, teacher workload, and we also talked about technology and how that potentially impacts supplies and how we move forward in the district and what that looks like. So that's what we talked about at that meeting.
Thank you very much. You want to move on to Student Achievement Committee?
We met last week for Student Achievement Committee. We continued to talk about a resource sheet that we're going to hopefully send out to staff and use in the future in terms of skyward grading practices to bring ourselves in line and make sure everyone's doing the same thing in terms of certain skyward pieces for grading. And then we started to talk about late work and policies around late work, and so we're going to survey the staff and talk more about that in February.
Thank you very much. FOIA requests.
I did have one FOIA request that came in actually right when Christmas break started, as did most superintendents in this area. It was from someone claiming to be from a Parents Foundation with an address in Texas, asking for a litany of probably 20 or 25 different bullet items on every staff member here. As we found out, there was an investigation actually by several different attorneys on who this FOIA request was coming from, and we were all advised to try to make contact with this organization via phone because it was thought to be a scam, and that if we reached out and made contact and they did not return calls and explain why it was they were wanting this information, we did not need to fulfill it. So that FOIA request was not granted. It was received and not granted per attorney recommendation.
Thank you very much. And 6th day enrollment.
So on page 191, you'll see, obviously every semester we do a 6-day count, see where we're at. And so on page 191, you'll see that our 6-day count for this semester is 1749. It was a drop of right around 100 students. Obviously, we typically lose students. We lost 30, obviously, midterm grads, so you're talking about 60 students. Obviously, we have students who transfer in and transfer out. Certainly better numbers than last year. If you remember, we dropped close to 200 students between first and second semester, and that was a major concern. So, this is fairly typical, but it does bring our over enrollment right now to 1749, which is still fairly low.
Thank you very much. Any other?
Dr. Owens, the 31 school out of district, does that include kids at Safe School? What makes up that group? I'm just curious.
It does include, it's weird that the numbers are the exact same. So there's 31 TMH students from the Pekin district, but it does not include, 31 students schooled out of districts. So Kiefer, Safe Schools, Hammett, other facilities that we talked about, those are incorporated into that number.
And they all represent overhead, don't they?
They
They represent overhead.
Yes.
In other words, we have costs attributed to them.
Absolutely, yes. Usually large costs.
Right, through no choice of our own.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions on any of the reports? Is there any item that a board member wishes to have placed on a future agenda? All right, final thing before we adjourn will be announcements. Just a reminder that next Monday will be the first ever State of the District, going to be held here. To begin with a dinner starting at 5:30 provided by our culinary arts students, and then the State of the District overview with 2 breakout sessions will follow, concluding at about 8 p.m. Please make sure you RSVP through the link if that's still available, if you've not yet. And then looking ahead, IASB's Central Illinois Valley Division spring meeting is scheduled for Thursday, March 22nd at Princeville. More information will come on that next month. And then finally, the next scheduled meeting of the Board of Education is right here, Monday, February 26th at 6:30. The last item on the agenda is a request for closed session. This will be the last action item, so for all intents and purposes, after this, we will be adjourned, but our last action item is a request for closed session regarding the employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimonies on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel of the public body to determine its validity.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Wrigley. Do I have a second to that motion? Second by Mr. Vera. Questions or comments? Mr. White, would you call the roll?
Ridley. Aye. Vera.
Aye.
Allison Greenie.
Aye.
Hoheimer.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries. And again, the last item will just be adjournment. So for all intents and purposes, we stand adjourned.